Call to order the special city council meeting for July 24th, 2023. Everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Kevin Kadada.
Here.
Tim Rude.
Here.
Cindy Fier.
Here.
And Scott Palava.
Here.
Approval of agenda. Appears to be currently one item on the agenda. Any additions, deletions, or corrections to the agenda?
Mayor, with the limited amount of agenda items on our regularly scheduled meeting for this Thursday, July 27th, requesting that approval of the minutes from the July 13th, 2023 regular meeting, the consent agenda items of monthly bills, treasurer's report, board and commission minutes, and presentation of a $2,500 CenterPoint Energy Community Safety Grant be added to this meeting's agenda, and the meeting scheduled for July 27th be canceled.
So moved.
Motion by Councilman Kadada.
Second.
Second by Councilman Palava. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Then you want to do those minutes again, or is that sufficient for approval of minutes, what you previously read there?
Yeah, they would get added to new
Agenda.
business.
Okay,
If we wanted to just be cognizant of the chief's schedule for that grant.
okay. There are no public hearings. On to presentation of citizens petitions and comments. Comments limited to 2 minutes, so if you're not on the agenda, now is your opportunity to speak. Okay, nothing on the consent agenda. There is no old business. On to new business. And do we want to do the grant first then? Mr. Erickson.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the council. Chief Schmitz is here. He applied for and received a grant to the amount of $2,500 from CenterPoint Energy. I know they were here in town previously and presented the check, so if Chief Schmitz wanted to come up and kind of talk about the application and what's being funded.
Welcome, Chief.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Yeah, I spoke with a representative, and they asked about what time our council meetings are at, and I said 7 o'clock, and they said, well, I'll be there the next morning during the day. But anyways, back in April of this year, I was provided the opportunity to apply for a community safety grant through CenterPoint Energy. The grant was a matching grant for a maximum of $2,500. We are in the process of budgeting for emergency communication equipment and felt this would be a great opportunity to help fund that project. I learned early in July the grant was approved and the Lonsdale Police Department was awarded the $2,500. CenterPoint Energy has been very generous in the past, and they have helped fund different projects with the police department. I'd just like to thank CenterPoint Energy for their commitment to public safety and the $2,500. And I would say throughout the years, they have helped fund approximately $10,000 worth of projects between the police department and fire department. So,
Nice, yeah, really nice. Yeah,
so every little bit helps. So,
absolutely. Well, thank you for your work for the application. You know,
Yeah,
it's
no
good.
problem.
It's all good. Good
any
job.
other questions or?
Very good job.
Good.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Okay, would you like to take, what item would you like next?
We can get in the budget.
Okay.
And just hit those things at the end.
Okay, discuss the city's 2024 budget. Mr.
All right,
Erickson.
thank you, Mayor and members of the council. This is the third meeting that the council's held on the city's preliminary 24 budget property tax levy. Items to discuss at this meeting, kind of the standing one, the property tax levy and impact. The one that is included in the packet is the split, which we've been discussing over the last several budget meetings, between flat and accounting for a 7% increase in home valuations or property valuations. Department requests. The EDA met last Thursday and came up with their preliminary budget, library, parks and streets, and then just the stuff that has been in all the previous meeting packets, facility needs, and then short and long-term goals for each department respectively. As I said, the property tax levy that's included is the split between no increase and the 7% valuation. Results in about $101,000 in additional levy funding. I think we're in a pretty solid place when it comes to the general fund departments for the '24 budget. And just looking before the meeting, all general fund departments are balanced as of now, and there is a slight surplus of the levy as indicated. And that would just, well, depending on any additional spending or priorities that come up between now and then, I don't anticipate it to increase. It would really only decrease because we haven't accounted for any of our public safety aid that was allocated to us by the state of Minnesota for 201,000 or 209 or 201,000 or 209. So feeling pretty confident that the levy that's been talked about is a solid levy. So I don't know if there's any questions on that. Otherwise, just jumping into the departments. As I said at the last meeting, the EDA board reviewed their preliminary '24 budget. They focused discussion focused on whether or not we should separate and have a separate account for revolving loan funds. Right now, it's all commingled. So whatever payroll, BRE initiatives, marketing is all coming off of that fund balance. And I don't remember off the top of my head, but I think the fund balance in the 210, even after just receiving our property tax for 70% of the first half, was around $60,000. So, that's really not, I know it's supposed to be gap financing, but in the whole scheme of things on a project, it's a pretty minimal amount for a loan request. The EDA is requesting $50,000 in funding from the property tax levy. They talked about the expenses associated with attending the Chamber's annual dinner. To be determined if we're awarded our Small Cities Development grant that we applied for. Actually, Gail Leverson with Wideseth, who we've been working with, was commuting between their office in Bemidji and Rochester on Friday and stopped in just to touch base and say hi. And they have not heard yet from the state on the awards for the program. So at this point, they're not even giving out a date of when they're going to be approved. Apparently there needs to be some paperwork approved by the federal government that the state needs to submit or has submitted, and it's under review. But until that policy or verbiage is approved, nothing's going to be happening with any grant awards until then.
Was that matching grant or fully funded grant, or what was that?
No, that was fully funded. 15 owner-occupied housing rehab projects. I think the grant application was just over $422,000. So, marketing of Lonsdale. The EDA is going to be having some new videos done this year, a longer kind of a branding one, and then a smaller, shorter one that we can use. Will be high resolution, so we can market that through streaming audio or the pre-roll videos like we were doing previously. Contributions to regional economic development agencies, business retention and expansion initiatives, and then the EDA submitted an application to be a partner in Smith's Rural Entrepreneur Venture REV program. It's a 3-part application process. We made it through the first one and are working on submitting our round 2 application, which is due August 2nd. So I guess mid-August we'll know if we're selected to make it to the 3rd round of funding or of the program. It is a 3-year program. They provide the majority of the funding and expertise to just increase entrepreneurial spirit and provide opportunities for people to know how to start a business, expand, things like that. That's a pretty quick review of the EDA. There's not a whole lot of line items. They have about a third of what all the other departments have, so.
So the 50,000, is that already factored in that potential excess that you have, or is that not included?
It is accounted for,
Okay.
yes,
And last year we had 40,000, correct?
yes.
Okay.
And
19 was, I think, the
I'm gonna
last
say
year was.
19 and then 09,
Yeah.
so.
Out of the 40,000 last year, did you spend that much, or is there a carryover? Or?
We spent,
I would say we spend close to that, yep.
Mhm.
was it like
Um,
37?
Yeah, that sounds about right. We budgeted $1,000 a month for marketing, $1,500 for some new videos. Once we priced them out and got our pricing on that, we realized that wasn't enough, so we ran our marketing campaign through June. And then that the remaining funds that were allocated for marketing were used to create the video, or will be used to create the videos. And those will be the, or that video, the 30-second one will be the one that we really push out next year and hopefully get lots of people to see and make them move their business to Lonsdale.
Yeah.
Marketing is a tough animal because, and there's always good discussion about should we continue marketing or how much, what are we marketing, how much should we continue, and there's always good discussion about it. But you don't always, there's
It's
no.
not always measurable.
It's, exactly,
Right.
there's, unless someone comes and says, I saw your ad on blah, 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 do you know that your stuff worked? Otherwise it's, you just put money at it and hope.
Yeah, I don't think that there was anything new in the budget request, just continuing what we've been doing over the last couple of years. Next department would be the library. Marguerite's here, and Shirley Larson is as well from the
Hi,
library
Shirley.
board. Yeah, if you wanna go up and
Hi. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and City Council members, for giving me a chance to check in with you guys. It's always good to see you. I thought I would just give you a quick overview of what we've been up to. As you know, ebooks continue to be a huge, growing, more than 10% a year. So last year we checked out on almost 2,900 items, but we still checked out 20,000 physical items, which we continue to buck the national trend by staying static. And I think that's because we keep getting new people. So that's kind of exciting. And it just goes to show that the core things that we do, those really boring things like having computers for people to print out, having a fax machine, having just a playroom for families to come and just get out of the house and not have to spend money and not have to drive far. All of that stuff is really important to people. And we hear it every week. People say, we're so glad you're here. So it's not exciting, and it's sometimes hard to see, but we do feel like we are really a core part of this community and that people do think we're important here. Some of the cool things that you do see are the programs. We had 271 kids registered for summer reading program from less than 1 to 17 and keeping them reading over the summer. We had 145 people at our kickoff cookout in the park. We had 102 at the Remarkable Reptiles. It's a perennial favorite. We attracted 82 to our William Kent Kruger author event, which let me tell you, that is as many grown-ups as we can fit in our meeting room. It was standing room only. People came from as far away as Anoka.
Okay.
So that kind of thing, it gets the word out for all those everyday things. It reminds people that we're here and that we're for them. We got 163 at our Halloween party, which is kind of, at this point, as big a thing as we do. And we have, and things like that only can happen because we had a dozen volunteers, which is great. It's a great community and people support us. So the main change, I know we've talked about it, and I'm sure you're sick of hearing me talk about wages, but last year the decision was to spread out over 3 years, raising the wages to be more in line with other libraries in the area. And I really appreciate it, and my staff really appreciates the commitment to doing that, to valuing them. And my main concern right now is just that we just hired a new person because Darlene retired. And that's great. And she's getting paid a not crazy, unreasonable wage for a starting wage. But I have people who've been here 6 and 7 years and are making basically the same. So what I'd like to see is us value the years of loyalty and improving their skills and get those people a little more than the starting wage.
Are they following the pay scale like the rest of the employees? Do they have the step for the increase and all that? Or-
Yes. So, but right, so they're all in that first box that you get when you start. So I'd like to see if we could possibly get them something just to show that we value
Have you
sticking with
factored
us.
a proposal, or do you know an overall cost or anything, or is that something you could put together?
Yes, and of course I didn't bring the specific numbers, but yes, I would be glad to crunch the numbers for you.
I guess if you could, and get it to Joe or get it to the next budget meeting, certainly could entertain that.
Yep, I got all kinds of numbers, so.
But I mean, it is a great, the whole library is a great program, just like the numbers you've just mentioned. I mean, it's a lot of community interest,
Has your new person started yet?
Friday.
Okay, so, and who is, the new person is?
Sarah Richter is her name.
Okay,
She is a researcher, so she's stepping back from full-time work to spend more time with her family, so we are very lucky to have her. She has some excellent computer skills and research and all kinds of things that I'm already coming up with ways to use her skills. It's great that we've got a set of different skill sets,
Sure.
so.
good.
If you don't have any questions, I'll go sit down.
No, but yeah, I guess if you could put something together and get it
I
into
will.
Joel, and we'll figure something out.
Glad to do that. Thank you
Good.
for your consideration.
Thank
you.
Thanks for your work. Do you have anything else in the library to add, Joel?
No, just overall the revenues, essentially property tax levy. I think we found out as the year went on last year that the amount of funding that we received from Rice County increased from $22,500 to $28,500, so we've accounted for that in '24's budget. And then just user fees and donations, expenses, wages, office supplies, training and education, that's Safe Assure, attendance at the Minnesota Library Association conference, professional services are typical of every other department, copier, cleaning, I guess specific to the library, payments to Selco for overdrive and tech support, and then the monthly payment to the villages of Lonsdale for our proportionate share of expenses. Dues and subscriptions, Minnesota Library Association, just magazines, newspapers, social media backup. Like I said, Selco Overdrive is a subscription that we pay for. Gifts and donations, kind of misleading. Essentially, that's the line item that's used to pay for a summer reading program, programming, and then associated materials. Capital outlay, just computer leases through Selco and just continuing to grow the collection, whether that's books, magazines, e-books, videos, CDs, things like that, so.
Okay, I think Shirley, you have something to add?
Of course.
I was just gonna say, 2 hours, it could be done in 2 hours, Shirley.
On your mark. Okay, this is my 5th year being on the board.
Congratulations.
We moved to
Thank you.
Lonsdale 5 years ago, and shortly after that, here I came. Anyway, I just wanted to give you a little insight on what's going on there, okay?
Okay,
I pop up there every now and then, unannounced, The library is always spotless. It's so clean. And the people are so pleasant to be around. And when kids come in, it's fun to watch the parents come with the stacks of books that the kids are going to check out. Isn't that right? Yeah. And she does a great job. You're so lucky to have her. But I'm keeping my eyes open up there, but she's doing a great job. That's it. Yes.
we got a new sheriff in town, right, Shirley?
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Marguerite, have you presented to the when did you present to the county your budget request?
August.
Okay.
Something. I submitted the request, but I haven't presented yet.
Okay, but you and all the other librarians obviously go at the same time or similar time?
Generally, yeah.
So what's your number this year for, what are you requesting?
I said, I was so happy that we had 2,800, 500. So
I
I just
understand.
requested $1,000 more.
Okay,
That makes quite a difference, even a few $1,000s.
It's that we have been trying to get more money out of that stone for years, so
Right.
we're delighted. Yeah, we squeeze every penny, so we'll find a good, we'll benefit from it for sure.
Good. Okay, thanks again for all your work.
Thank
Shirley,
you.
too, thank you. Okay,
Next is Parks, and we've got some Park Board members here, so you have a presentation to give.
okay. I would imagine they'll be involved in the presentation. Like, are they gonna give it?
okay.
I just didn't want you to get.
I'll get all tangled up
Yeah.
and.
Okay. All right. Well, the presentation that was actually given. Am I gonna get it on my screen?
Might need them to do it, huh?
Yeah, right. Little technical assistance here. Well, this is the Parks, Trails, Open Space, and Recreation presentation for the '24 budget discussion. Park Board members, Chair is Kevin Kadada, Vice Chair is Jeanette Utek, Lori Carpentier, Mickey Ziskowski, and Maria Kowalski. City staff, myself, Joe Dornfeld, the Public Works Director, and Shabani Bisson, City Engineer. Just kind of talking about parks here. Trichka Park, well, I'm sure you guys looked at this in the packet, but just Phase 1 of Trichka Park was the soccer fields. That was completed. The soccer fields, the parking, and then the trail connection to north on South Main. Phase 2 was the rink, pavilion, and parking lot. That was all completed. Most recently, the remainder of the trees got planted this spring, and then staff did a great job of, we were talking about before the meeting, getting the 4 pickleball courts there delineated, and kind of had talked about having a schedule and removing them or moving them to the side if kids or someone wanted to do roller hockey, but we've kept them up and there hasn't been any scheduling issues or conflicts, and it seems like, again, based off the discussion prior to the meeting, it seems like it's going to get used more and more. So maybe at some point it's a different location, but I think what was talked about earlier, just the convenience of the warming house and everything all being right there. It's a really nice amenity. Phase 3, to be determined, but discussion had been on some play equipment in that area for, to tie into the soccer fields and get a park down in that area. Splash pad and fitness equipment, just kind of added 10% onto those costs, but did look at the DNR outdoor recreation grant, and the maximum that can be applied for is $350,000. So that is a one-to-one match. So should the council want to pursue something, the max under that program that we would be able to apply for would be the $350,000.
And is that for a variety of amenities or specific, or?
Yep. Yeah, it would be anything that we'd be talking about or proposing in that phase 3. Water amenity, long range, a splash pad or a spray pad, outdoor swimming pool or water park, when you're talking millions of dollars. We went down the indoor pool path before. And then here recently, over the last couple of years, there's been talk about some type of a natural beach, or kind of utilizing, some of the topography or water features or ponds, what have you, that we have in the area.
And like the fishing piers used quite a bit, so that little pier area.
I believe so,
Yeah, it's used a lot.
It's, just given that trail, with the tree canopy, and it's probably my favorite trail in town. It just seems like you're someplace else, so.
Right.
Very nice area over there. Kind of a continuation. Parking lots, with our newer areas, we've paved them. We paved a road and a parking lot for the archery range, and then over the years, Public Works will salvage the millings or the reclaim and spread them out over there and impact it down. It's actually held up pretty well over the years. But the ones that we've recently paved would be the archery range compost site, and then Trichka Park, the east and west. And then gravel, Trendon Memorial, the JC Park, which again with the millions has held up really well. Kalina and Stika Park.
That whole compost has really evolved in the years since it was all the hills. It's really turned out pretty well.
Yeah, no, from burning in the center of town almost,
Right.
working with recycling and organic companies to grind and remove it, keep
Right.
some for ourselves or the public. And just the amount of time that's spent up there is,
Right.
we're probably, I just submitted our invoice for reimbursement, and we're probably $15,000 a year we're spending up there in staff time to turn the
Sure.
pile and clean it up on, Fridays, Mondays, throughout the week. A large portion that is grinding and removal of the material, but.
Looks like a lot of people take that compost, though. Looks like people
It's remarkable how fast it was removed, especially this year,
really,
after having it sifted. But residents are able to take mulch, compost, sifted stuff, other than what the Public Works Department kept is gone, and residents are back to just taking the regular compost. I get, I would say, 3 to 4 calls a month on what can we bring, what can we take.
Right.
So it's a really nice amenity to have that a lot of communities do not have.
right. Good.
And we haven't had, as far as I'm aware of, a whole lot of abuse of it. Back in the day, couches or garbage or what have you, so.
A couple
Other
surroundings.
other than today.
Oh. Spoke too soon, huh?
But there are a couple
Of
surrounding
course.
cities that had quite a bit of trouble. It was in the paper there.
Yeah.
that-
Oh, yeah.
It's-
I think even just around here dumping north of town and
Yeah.
just,
I think staff does a really good job of just, when we see people up there, it's not the scolding them, it's just informing them of, you know, the nicer we keep this, the nicer of product you get. And there's really nothing you can do for one or two circumstances a year, but for the most part, I know in my tenure here, it's gotten much better by taking that approach than to try to police it.
Which is good, because the other option is staffing, structured hours, you know.
Right.
So, much easier just to go up there when it's convenient for you, or you just get done cutting your grass or what have you, and deal with it then and be done with it. Vets Memorial, great project. I actually just got one paver here was it last week? So I'll be coordinating with the company to get that paver done, engraved. So that just leaves one, where the arrow is, just that one panel of, I believe it's 6, of available pavers. So I think I've been doing this since Ben's gone for about a year, and that's the first one we've had. So that 6 is probably certainly good through this year, if not next year, but I think the park board's gonna have to look at where's the next bank of them gonna go.
We'd even talk maybe even a short wall or something to fit in there, but.
What was the price for each paver? Did
$300.
that, $300, okay. And would we keep that price the same? I mean, obviously the cost of doing this is
I would
going up
assume it'd
over.
probably have to go up a little.
It's been, what, 10 years since we did this?
Been a while.
So the cost to, build that out is gonna
Mhm.
have to reflect that.
Yeah. Well, we've been fortunate. I think L.A. Cadana Sons donated the labor and
The last
materials
one,
to
yeah.
get the last one done. We had the cost of the tablets, so to speak.
Do we have, I'm assuming that any overages, it's, balance is left in as a maintenance fund or something? I mean, you
Yeah.
sell a paver for $300, I can't think it costs I'm assuming that we have upcharged, and so any excess goes into a maintenance type fund or
Mhm.
upkeep, okay.
Yep, and it will be more expensive instead of waiting for them to come and do 6 of them. You know, when people buy a paver, they want to see some action. You know, they want to see they want to go there and see their name, their kid's name, their parents' name, whoever, name it is on there, and not, well, we're waiting on 3 more. When's that going to be? I don't know. So we did make the decision, just when we get one, get her done. So, yeah, I would agree, we'll have to reevaluate going forward what that cost is. Some of the highlighted items, I know this time last year we were talking about the rotting timbers at Trendon Memorial or the DRS field, so I kept that one there and got a picture on Friday, kind of side by side, to see some of the improvements that were done down there. Kind of at least one of those pictures to be consistent to side by side. Still talking about removing the fence at Bastyr Park. Benches, we budgeted to purchase 2 benches, just so if one got damaged, we would have one on hand to replace it. Or if we get anyone that wants to sponsor a bench.
For the Lions to provide benches too?
Yes. Yep. One thing I still have to look at for next year is the 3R Landmark School. Probably looking at replacing the remainder of the old siding that we didn't replace, I don't know, seems like a couple years ago, but 8-9 years ago already, 7 already. It's just not, the paint just is not
That's gonna be
sticking.
an ongoing problem,
Yep. So I did have a conversation with Steve Lasepa the other day just to let him know that we got all of the utilities switched over, and that he's gonna get one more bill just between when he was here and the switch over date, and yep, we got those on everything, and reminded me again about contacting the Rice County Historical Society to see about grant funding from wherever, the National Park Service or Department of the Interior, wherever the funding would come from, so. Definitely be in contact with them.
Are there options for fundraising for repairs of the school?
Absolutely.
So if there
But
were,
there's not a board anymore, is there? Did they dissolve, or is there still
I-
a board?
I think
I'm
we
not
said
sure.
the board was still gonna be intact, but they were just running out of money, because the board is getting smaller and smaller.
and they're
Said
older and
they're all
older.
dying.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're,
Was there any residents alive yet that went to that school, or?
I'm not sure.
I don't know. I can't think off the top of my head who might have gone there.
Doesn't matter. Years ago.
You know, fortunate to have the liquor store, you know, I think, you know, some funding could come from that.
I mean, it sounds a good theory, but it's open, what, one day a year, is it,
9 to noon
Yeah,
on the second Saturday of the August.
right.
Keeps the custodial cost down.
Yeah. But yeah, it's, you know, good in theory to have the history and the rah-rah and, you know, kind of, well, the history essentially.
Right.
But yeah, with that comes the cost of upkeep and,
It's just, all that stuff, it doesn't mean much to people that don't have family or even know somebody who's ever been there. It's just
Mhm.
a building,
Yeah, there's no connection
Right.
for a lot.
welcome signs, I mean, they're just, you know, the guys did a good job. Was that last fall?
Yeah.
The landscaping and the mulch and everything, got them all looking good again. I think we took a tree out on that
East one.
With the roundabout project proposed for 25, I've asked at every meeting that we've had, and I have not been told yet that that is in the way, so, I would hope that they would just tell me that.
Those lights issue on that west one, that all kind of died out then after the.
Yeah,
I think the tree grew
I
enough.
say, I think the brush grew up high
I think
enough that
so.
it didn't look like a car coming at you.
mhm.
We actually kind of reconfigured how they aim.
We got
I know we-
different light on the east one, right?
Yeah, we've got some different lights, and I think it's a combination of both, the growth and just a little reposition.
Some other items, dog park amenities. You know, stuff that we've heard about over the years, hard surfacing the entrance to the dog park, sand entrance into the pond on the south side. Last winter for sure, maybe 2 winters, we put up some screening, some wind block on the north and west side, so that there's for the pavilion, so there's wind screening. One thing that we are gonna have to do, sounds like Minnesota Millworks and Fixtures is prepared to construct another building. And just since the city owned that all at one time, the entrance to that actually is on their property. So we're gonna have to, when we had our last, was it project meeting or Public Works meeting, requested WSB locate those property corners, and we're gonna have to realign that and get that onto our property, because they're gonna need that for their parking and things like that, so.
I think I mentioned I got a call or two on that, so all we're really changing is just the entrance, just the
Yep.
approach.
Mhm.
Everything else is the same.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, so I'm kinda just going up the hill and veering, it's gonna be much more defined and at a 90 to Industrial Park Drive.
Right.
Probably gonna have to look at relocating a portion of that fence.
At the wastewater
retreatment.
plant, yeah. On the west side of the treatment plant.
Right when you pull in, that fence is gonna have to go from, you know, a 90 to a 45 or something to get enough room there. You know, some of the things that were on the previous slides, the outdoor fitness equipment, DRS lights, disc golf. I know the park board talked about that at their last meeting. Staff has got some pricing on the targets, the tee boxes or tee pads, that they recommend be constructed. And really, it's just gonna kind of be that and in surveying to get distances and kind of get maybe a fairway, or we'll have to look at the mowing and everything and how that's all.
Is that down by Kalina Park, or what are you talking about?
Yes. Yep. And there is provided WSB the design, that was done at the staff level to get 9 holes in there.
Really? Do the people do that yet?
Yeah, it still seems to be pretty popular. Historical markers. You know, some of the stuff is just kind of repairs and maintenance stuff. The volleyball nets, you know, basketball was talked about prior to the meeting, and if there's space at the skate park. Just equipment updates, park signs, and each of those is going for about $5,000 a sign. And then the boards at the JC Park Ice Rink. We've had some discussions at the staff level, and I think at the last park board meeting too, about just, it does get used. It's hard to get ice going. It stays there longer than Trichka, but getting it going is a nightmare. And possibly removing those boards and just having a sheet of ice and trying to reconfigure that somehow to create a bowl with some clay or some type of soils, a liner, so it's much easier to get going. And plus, it's, you know, we hear from CTM all the time, you guys shouldn't be driving that across town. That's not what it's intended for. So, just gonna premature wear and tear, and so. Just some of the other park items. So we've got the dog park, the pickleball, again the historical markers, some of the fitness equipment. Skate park, under construction right now. As of Friday, that's what the guys had done. Sounds like there was more done today, so getting that all in place. Here's the disc golf that we talked about. We'll just have to work with that. Property owner to the south, they're aware that we mow a trail on their property, and we've been in contact with them, you know, years ago when we did that, and they don't have any issues. So,
Who owns that?
I don't know the name of it. I believe it's an investment company now.
Something holding, remember?
To put a cleated, put a deal?
No, it'd be,
No, I think they're out of the metro.
the lawyers, we had Spot Webster too.
Oh, Labor?
Can't remember names.
Anyway.
So we'll have to work with them, to, if we're actually gonna, you know, place, you know, structures, you know, get some type of easement or something like that, because each of those targets is $700 to $1,000 a piece. And then the tee box or the tee pad that they recommend minimum of 4 feet wide, preferably 6. As short as 8, but preferably 12. So just for cost estimating, I figured it seems like when we do stuff, we do it right. So it would be a 6 by 12, kind of gives them a running, you know, a chance to get a running start to really, you know, yeah, throw the frisbee or disc, whatever the lingo is, I guess. Talked about this earlier. Those are the benches that the Lions and Boy Scout Troop 327 have donated. Really nice benches. What was it, 500 pounds and what were they saying, it's like 40,000 plastic bags is what it takes to get 500 pounds, something like that.
I give Kidder credit, boy, they, even at, in the Bart Peterson, they sure worked at it, yeah. You gotta pull all the labels off, it's gotta be relatively clean plastic, you know.
Mm-hmm. And actually, I think I saw the lines down there over the weekend, or some of them, kind of going through the cardboard and cleaning it up and stuff like that, so. Infamous land. Kind of some of the stuff, county shop, sports complex.
I still think that county shop's got a mess compared to Dundas or Faribault shops. And Dundas is all cleaned up, and, you know, Faribault too, or even Scott County, but this here, they still got weeds growing out of the piles, and,
Give them a little ticket.
yeah, they have a certain shade is like that.
Well, I know after we met with the county and Kathy Peterson that, or Kathy Felbergy, excuse me, that one afternoon, the phones were ringing, so.
So now, I don't know if you're coming to this, so what is the park board, what's the top priority? Is that gonna be coming to that, or? is
Yeah.
there any-
Just kind of trail system. So, project proposed for 24 would be the remaining, with the exception of that Willow Creek Trail, the remaining sections that are identified as poor, between 80th, or, excuse me, County Road 4 and the entrance to the school, that section. There's a small section behind Bluff Heights Drive. And then on Ash Street, northeast would be recommended for trail maintenance or replacement.
This measures about 13 miles, is that what the current?
Yes. Yep. These are old trails. The one on the right is the 8th Avenue one that was just done here a month ago. So we did 8th Avenue Northeast this year. Trenda Memorial Park, we put some drain tile in to hopefully alleviate some of the drainage issues and preserve the useful life of the trail there. And then behind 15th Avenue, southeast, that section was redone as well. We are recommending that $150,000 be budgeted. You know, accounting for engineering and cost estimate of about $45 a foot. That the sections proposed come in just under that, 150. This is all stuff that we've heard about over the years. You know, it'd be great to get a trail connection on the east side of town. I do know when when we do meet with Rice County on their I don't even know what year it is anymore, 2030 mill and overlay. Every time I bring up that trail crossing over there, and we got to get something better. So. At least on the drawings that I've seen, they actually show it on there. So I'm anticipating that it'll be a marked crossing, probably some type of, you know, lighting, notification system. So it should be a huge improvement from what it is now. Vehicles don't stop.
You stop for the geese, though.
Yeah.
But, yeah, you won't stop for a kid, but you stop for a
the
goose,
geese.
you know. Again, clean a park, you know, from Reed Death Nature Preserve around that pond on the east and south sides. The boardwalk, just the Garfield connection along the compost site, kind of looping that up. Just talked about it, the Highway 19 and 8th Avenue crossing. And then some type of crossing at 19 and 5th Avenue northwest. It seems like every couple of years is, you know, a house will sell over in that area. We always get phone calls, you know, when are you guys going to get a crossing there? You know, we just moved to town and the JC Park's across the street. And So, again, with MnDOT and their mill and overlay project, we've brought that up at every meeting that at least you get some type of a crossing there. County Road 4 and Railway Street, we did get it in the plans to move that trail or sidewalk away from the county road, so it will not be behind the back of the curb at the county shop in the J.C. Park. We are having a sidewalk constructed from the County Road 4 trail along Arizona to the J.C. Park. The county and city are, where's the county paying for that? There is going to be RRFB lighting at the 8th Avenue intersection. And we applied for, Rice County on behalf of us applied for a federal safety grant to get some type of crossing notification or lighting system down at Idaho Street. We're not awarded that, but at least they're putting in street lights. Because there are no street lights down there now, and it's dark. So even that'll be a huge improvement to light that intersection up. Summer Rec, we've got a good relationship with TCU and Summer Rec. This year, we budgeted $6,000. They do programming with Three Rivers. I think, was it Community Ed just had a program of at the archery range? Was that?
Yep, it's
That was today. So I
today
think it was
through
a
Wednesday.
So I'm not sure if that was the Summer Rec program or
No, that's just regular community.
my guess it would be older kids, just given the age of.
Something with Faribault was there.
But they've went, they went roller skating. They've been to Nine Nature Preserve. Lots of stuff at the school here in town. So definitely benefit to our younger residents. All right, finally, huh? The budget request for 24 disc golf. Again, we talked about that earlier. The targets, the T-pads, surveying, signage, trees and landscaping, trails, summer rec, and then maintenance and equipment. Really, the only equipment that's proposed for next year is replacing our 3/4 ton truck with a new crew cab 3/4 ton. So still a substantial amount of money when you look at it, but I guess that's what's been talked about and what the recommendation is.
So right now, there's nothing budgeted for parks, all right?
As of now, all this is in the budget right now.
Okay.
Yep.
I do think seeing what pickleball is doing over there, we probably need to identify a permanent site for that at some point. We had talked about taking the boards down at J.C. Park and maybe paving that and having pickleball be there for permanent in summer and then, skating rink in the.
So really, we just need an asphalt pad, basically. I mean, I get the nets and the
Yep.
fencing, but basically, that's what we're.
Yeah, similar to the basketball court that's at JC now, some asphalt with some sort of sport court surface on it.
I would agree with that. I think that's gonna. We just based on the popularity down south. I mean, if it's a fraction of that here, it's gonna be.
Well, they just covered it on the news again last week. That there's just, so much of it that there's leagues and everything going on now, so.
I just had about all the injuries that happened too.
You have to turn in like unused balls into, or portions of them into pickleball courts too.
I thought I saw
I
that
read it in the news the other day.
Unused balls?
Used malls
Oh,
that
okay.
aren't being used anymore, just they're wide open, department stores and things like that.
So you saying like the 3-hour landmark?
2 stories.
Yeah.
All basement too.
Get one on each floor, huh?
The ghosts will be there to ref it for you.
Yeah.
But I would agree with that. I think we should identify a location and kind of start to budget for a pad.
The use is remarkable. It's
Yeah.
really surprised me.
Just trying to think of their subdivision, do they get? Must be 2 or 6, I think 6. And that keeps people pretty.
6 courts?
Yeah, in the one pad, they got, 2 that are parallel and the one perpendicular. And so it doesn't take, it doesn't take up a real big pad, but at least you can just enough to get 6 on there. That would handle a lot of people, I think. Because I mean, some people I've talked to, they're coming from out of town just to come up here and play on this and try it out.
The thing that's nice about the JC Park, other than lack of an air-conditioned building, is that park really is designed to handle a lot of people.
Right.
And as far as court direction, if the hockey rink is the location, I think the orientation of the fields can be whatever we want, because there's such a big hill to the west with big mature trees. I don't think sun would really be an issue.
Well, and then it goes back, if you ever get the county to work out a deal, I mean, can you imagine just removing them piles and utilizing that building?
Yeah.
I mean, just a beautiful park center.
I actually got an email from the city of New Prague today asking information on our pickleball courts. So maybe get a call from
Contact the pros.
them, but, right?
Yeah,
Must have done something right.
Right?
yeah, it's a big deal. Ben Johns, that's the guy, the best player in the world. If you've seen him on TV and stuff, but they had some events, down south there. They had like 500, 600, 700 people come just to watch him play. It's crazy.
John McEnroe of
Yeah, pickleball, exactly. A little better temperament, but.
I don't know, ladies. Appreciate you guys coming. Do you have any questions or anything?
You sure must want to add something. By the way, thank you for your volunteerism on the board, though. That's really appreciative. And, Jeanette's been on there for a long time now.
Yeah, that's fun.
Good. Thank you.
So, yeah, I guess with that, that's that.
So it's safe to say that the disc golf is moving forward then? Is that kind of the plan?
Yep. Yeah, we're already working on getting a proposal from WSB to, do what surveying and staking that they need to do. So.
Good. But yeah, I would say identifying a pickleball area would be probably a top priority there. I think that would be a good plan for the future. Go a light there, Slugger. Thank you.
So, otherwise, I know we had went over, kind of really, like in the staff report, parks was just kind of the big picture stuff with the park board projects. We already went over the day-to-day stuff. Same with streets, but Joe and Shabani did some more work on mill and overlays, street maintenance. So I guess with that, I'd turn it over to him to go over that stuff, and that would be the last thing for the budget.
Just one thing to summarize that park system though, but if you drive through town and look at the parks and how they've developed for a town our size, that's pretty remarkable, really.
It's unfortunate that our projects cost, $300,000 to do something nice, it just.
Yeah. I mean, you drive around even some of these bigger city parks and they're not maintained and the fence is falling down and all that kind of stuff, so pretty fortunate. So, anyway, good job, everyone. All right, Mr. Dornfeld.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Staff has identified the need for pavement rejuvenation in the Area 5 reconstruct section. This area is all streets east of Main Street South, south of Highway 19, west of 4th Avenue Southeast, and north of Florida Street Southeast. Rejuvenating oils such as GSB 88 from Farner, Reintroduce oils and resins lost in the oxidation process from the negative effects of sunlight and rain. Many streets in Lonsdale have been seal coated with oils and a top dressing of small rock. This process has performed well, but as the seal coat ages, we're experiencing the top layer peeling off, leaving a void in the street that is too thin to patch without milling or cutting out the bad section. Avoiding this type of deterioration is a top priority. Pavement rejuvenation oils accomplish what seal coats accomplish without the rock top dressing. The preparation for rejuvenating oils is the same as it is for seal coat with crack filling and sweeping. There is an option with the rejuvenating oils that you can crack fill after you have applied the rejuvenating oils. Compliance with the maintenance schedule is top priority for sections that have been reconstructed. Rejuvenating oils are in a sense the new seal coat. By using these oils, we are likely to avoid issues we have encountered in the past with the traditional seal coat. Residents will not have to deal with rocks in their yard, pavement will remain smooth, and from a maintenance perspective, we will avoid the peeling issues that we are experiencing now. Staff has also identified streets that need a mill and overlay. Using the PCI index, staff was able to determine the size and conditions of these areas. I've identified 4 areas. We have Lonsdale Court Northwest, Birch Street Northeast, Dogwood Street Northeast, and 9th Avenue Northeast. Staff recommends the streets with a PCI index below 70 be considered for mill and overlay. While there are multiple streets that have a rating below 70, factors such as neighborhood consistency, complaints, and usage volume were also factored in the decision. Microsurfacing has been presented as an option to repair streets that have encountered the seal coat peeling. It is a mixture of emulsified asphalt, fine aggregates, mineral fillers, and water. Microsurfacing would fill in the areas of seal coat that have peeled off and return the entire street to a smooth surface. Streets that are candidates for microsurfacing would be those that are not experiencing major cracking or settlements. Staff has identified an area in Willow Creek Heights that would be an excellent candidate. I am also working with contractors to determine if a test area is feasible. I think the best test area would be along Willow Creek Drive where there's no houses, so we don't have any unfair street maintenance. It's experiencing all of the issues that we're talking about with the peeling, and overall condition of the street is pretty fair. It's just we have some peeling. These areas that I've identified for mill and overlay, like I said, they're below 70, and it's really just keeping that neighborhood consistency as far as little spots here and there. I think it's important to hold true to a consistent neighborhood. With that said, if you go to 10th, 11th, and 12th, this microsurfing is also an excellent candidate in that development as well. If we were to get on a maintenance schedule and continue these futures instead of just strictly looking at milling and overlaying everything. So I guess if you guys have any questions, I've been meeting with a couple of contractors, Farner and Reclamite. They were supposed to they came down to give me pricing, and he didn't bring the pricing. So I was given a per square yard price, so at least we can budget and estimate. With that said, it's kind of hard to just go crazy, and we can't pick them all, so.
Well, I think it's good that you're trying something different, though. I mean, obviously, the straight seal coating hasn't, back in the day was fine, but hasn't worked out the best recently. So I think I'd be kind of curious to see how that heavier mix works and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and I don't know if you guys scrolled down in the packet, there's that PCI map on here. You can see the ages of the streets and developments are all pretty consistent, and that's right where I've circled in red all the streets below 70. And I guess what I'm trying to say is that the end is in sight, you know, once we get a program going and establish something,
Right.
it's not 200,000 on milling and overlaying 500 feet every year, so,
I mean, generally, they factor the life of a road at 20 years, right?
which they are all at,
Right. That's what I was gonna say.
so. With that said, Tim, both contractors that I met with are confident in our streets. They had all good things to say about, you know, you guys must really construct your streets well. We don't see streets this old that are this consistent still. You know, we're at 20 years, most cities are looking at a reconstruct of the street. And to be able to have the option of microsurfacing or other things, I think it's really beneficial for us, you know.
You know, I think years ago when they changed to using fabric and a sand cushion, that made a lot of difference.
Yeah.
You know, many years ago, it started just with black dirt and mucker trucks, you know, back
Yeah.
in the 40s, and then evolved to just road gravel and then rock. But no, I do like the fabric and sand. That had a lot of life.
Yeah, and we'll just have to determine long-term funding. You know, it's gonna be like our recons, right? All those streets were kind of constructed at the same time, just like all the developments in the early 2000s, you know. There's kind of
Well,
a
I think, you know, we're
limited-
probably pretty fortunate that we addressed it. We had the forethought to rebuild the old town now and
Yep.
all that kind of stuff. And could you imagine if we wouldn't have done anything? Like,
And it all hits that way.
right, right.
So just long-term, and, you know, one of the things that we're gonna be working on to incorporate in the budget for next year is creation of a capital improvement plan, so we can really determine the costs and a time, kind of a timeline for
Right.
replacement or mill and overlays and things like that, but, you know, as was discussed earlier, don't get much mill and overlay done for 150,000, so we're gonna have to look at, or if that's the case, it's gonna take us a long time to get through. So we'll have to determine at the staff level what the options are and what works best for the city and make that recommendation, and whether it's capital improvement bonds or, you know, as Paul Donna said when he was here during last year's budget, whether it's trails or mill and overlays, as long as you're assessing that 20%, you know, you can include them on projects. But then, of course, you're financing it, but I
I
don't
was
know how you
surprised
get
that
it
Willow
done without.
Creek is really kind of broken up.
It's,
It's peeled and it's,
so once you saw the area I had identified, that would include Singing Hills Drive, I believe, and everything to the kind of south and west. And they told me the process for that is they would come and lay a skim coat down and then microsurface the whole street on top of that. It's a similar product to what we used on our trails a few years back. It's a different oil. It's much smoother.
what do they do around the manhole? They ramp it up or something?
I guess the contract, you know, the manholes and the dips we're talking about when you get towards the end of the curb on Singing Hills Drive, that area, there's just no way around. We're gonna have to adjust the rings on the casting and fill in that trench settlement on the east side of the street. But those issues, you know, they're gonna stay consistent no matter what. It's the seal coating that I'm really trying to get a grasp on, because most of these developments of that age, they are seal coated and they're all experiencing the same things. To get to kind of a stagger so we can address all of them.
It seems like the curb lines seem to be hanging in there, right?
Right.
Doesn't seem to be much shift in there. I drove through Fairville today and I got a kick out of, they're piecemealing the curb repairs like we did. I didn't notice that. I thought, oh my gosh, it's just
It's
gonna
not a
be.
good plan.
No.
Yeah.
I like the microsurfacing, I mean, is that something that they could do this year to a trial area?
That's what we're working on. He's trying to, because it's such a significant less volume that they'd be using, it's kind of, you know, if I can get a commitment, you know, I can give you this unit price to do this test area type of deal. You know, in a sense, a handshake deal, but they're very confident that they're like, you're just gonna be amazed at what your street looks like before and after. But like I said, there's only so much funding to go around.
I mean, they sound like reputable companies. You certainly could
Both of
try
them
it.
are,
Yeah, you
yes.
could certainly try it, test
Yep.
it, see what happens.
What do they think that, how much time do they think this buys before you'd have to do a real,
7 to 10 years.
okay?
Yeah, it's there's a
Substantial
development
time.
they're working on right now in Apple Valley that one of these days I just gotta get over there and go see it before they get the whole project done. But I was told that there are cities around our area that would have no problem calling them up and microsurface the whole thing. You know, they don't address any of the issues, you know, we have, according to the PCI, we have some 40s and whatever, and I just have a hard time coding over something like that, you know, if we're gonna do something, like Joel said earlier, we do it right, let's get a grip on it. But all of our streets are excellent candidates for that, and, you know, stressing the fact that mill and overlay is not the only fix, and it probably is the best, but it is also the most expensive.
I don't know, that's gotta be close to 10 years ago, it wasn't a microservicing, but we did a little overlay on Baldwin. Or like Blacktop did that, and that actually held up really well.
That was a fog seal, if I remember right. Farner does that as well. I actually was just a few weeks ago, after I'd met with them, I said, you know, I remember we did something there. And just getting those oils back in, it's incredible the difference from second to third. The color, the consistency of the pavement.
Did they give you any thought about putting the oils into the millings, like at the parking lots? Like the DRS parking lot or JC parking lot, could they do that?
I haven't inquired about
I'd
that
ask
at all.
about that. I mean, you would think that there'd be some product that could,
Help lock them in.
I mean, it seemed to be holding up right, they just get loose or dusty, I imagine.
They do, and you know, the trend of, the JC Park is full every day, and it has been for the last 40 years.
Right.
Where the DRS Park or Trenda Memorial, it's a lot of through traffic, and there are new millings on there, so they're looser. But as time goes on, they improve and improve and improve.
Right, right. I just thought something like that, if you used oil instead of having to do a complete blacktop job.
Yeah.
But no, I'm glad you're researching that, I think it's certainly worth a try, absolutely.
Yeah, I do. I think it's a great thing.
Okay,
That pretty much wraps up discussion on the budget, unless you guys have anything else you wanna go over, or anything for the next meeting. I'll probably look at, planning and zoning, maybe solidify some more numbers, get into, then really it's enterprise.
so
Water,
right now, we're
sewer,
basically
liquor.
between holding the line and the levy and the 7% valuation.
Correct.
That's right, and that equated to like 100 grand or something.
Mhm.
Okay, should we address those added items on the
Yeah,
agenda?
absolutely. The minutes from the last council meeting, July 13th, were included in the packet sent out today for the July 27th meeting.
I move we approve the minutes.
Motion by Councilman Kadada.
Second.
Second by Councilperson Fair. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Then the last agenda item is the items from the consent agenda, monthly bills, treasurer's report, and board and commission minutes.
Anybody like any of those items pulled for discussion?
I move we approve the consent agenda.
Motion by Councilperson Fair.
Second.
Excuse me, second by Councilman Palava. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Anything else there, good sir?
Nope.
Okay.
I move we adjourn.
Motion by Councilman Kadada,
Second.
second by Councilman Palava. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. This meeting is adjourned.